It's showtime.
Yes, it is. I'm Spade Parkland. Welcome to Parkland Media. This is my channel. If you are new here, please subscribe, click the bell, ding the dong, bing the bong, all that great stuff. Share everywhere. If you're returning, welcome home. All right, before jumping into the video, I have to make a correction. I made a mistake. And the mistake is with Victor and the boy in white conspiracy. I've been hammering the boy in white is evil, he's suspicious, all that stuff. So previously I said that Victor dug the mass graves, and the next episode came the Colony House Massacre. I was wrong. I made a mistake. In actuality, here's the timeline of events. So Victor was manhandled by Jim in the diner when Victor went to Ethan and said 4 inches, talking about the trees moving. And the only reason why Victor wanted to have anything to do with Ethan is because Ethan mentioned the boy in white. So after Victor was manhandled by Jim in the diner, season 1, episode 4, Victor went to the Matthews home, talked Ethan into going with him, and they went out to this adventure. They went out in the forest. They saw the boy in white walking, and then Victor showed Ethan the faraway tree. That's season 1, episode 4. So later on in the episode, after the faraway trees made the barking sound, or the barking that made Victor kind of relive his trauma from the past, Tabitha and Jim were surrounded by the German Shepherds. Victor shot the revolver in the air. The dogs ran. They left, talking about Ethan, Tabitha, and Jim. Later on that same episode, season 1, episode 4, Victor went and dug the mass graves. Season 1, episode 4 at the end, after the Matthews left with Ethan, after Victor saved them from the German Shepherds. So, what I believe happened off screen is Victor, after showing Ethan how the faraway tree works, season 1, episode 4, Victor had a conversation with Ethan about the boy in white's plan. Victor dug the mass graves at the end of season 1, episode 4. So Victor had a conversation with Ethan and told him about the boy in white's plan, and also Victor had a conversation with the boy in white about a plan as far as the Colony House Massacre, and how Victor was going to be waiting on Tabitha in the cave. And that's why the same episode, Victor's digging the mass graves at the end of season 1, episode 4. Season 1, episode 7 is when the actual massacre happened. So it didn't happen the next episode, like I had said before in the previous video. It happened season 1, episode 7 for the Colony House Massacre. And between episode 4, Victor showing Ethan the faraway tree and Victor showing the mass graves, Victor had to have a conversation with the boy in white about a plan. And I think that same episode, maybe even later on, Victor relayed that information to Ethan. And that's why during the massacre, Victor told Julie, tell Ethan to start it. So, and you know what? It may be more realistic that Victor had the conversation with Ethan about the plan of the boy in white. Maybe he had it between episode 5 and episode 7. Maybe it was episode 5 or 6. We don't see it. It's off screen. So Victor talking to the boy in white's off screen. Victor talking to Ethan is off screen. What we do see on screen is Victor digging the mass graves, Victor showing Ethan the faraway trees, and Victor telling Julie, tell Ethan it has started. All right, so that's the correction I wanted to make. And I wanted to make that correction because the boy in white, he's evil, he's got a plan, he's sacrificing lives, and I still believe that when Tabitha was pushed out of the lighthouse, I think Tabitha accidentally went to Maine. I don't think that was the actual intention was for Tabitha to go to Maine. So think about it. When the boy in white pushed Tabitha out of the lighthouse, did she go to Maine or did Tabitha accidentally go to Maine? I think she accidentally went to Maine, and that's the reason why when she came back season 3, the boy in white didn't say anything to her. Even went into a coffee shop and kind of like disappeared into being another boy or disguised himself or something. And that's why Tabitha was like left on her own and didn't know what to do. Because the boy in white, in my opinion, never intended for Tabitha to survive the push. All alleged, all a theory. So, all right, so that housekeeping's out the way. I've already ate up like 5 minutes doing that. That housekeeping's out the way. So for this video, we're going to be focusing on the answers to the end are at the beginning. And I believe that Miranda found an exit to Fromville, and here is why. Okay, so this is an interview of John Griffin and Jeff Pinkner, 2 of the 3 creators of From. They're having this interview with E-Man News and Reviews on his YouTube channel. I went over this before in a previous video. We're going to go over it again because now we're going to be talking about Miranda as far as what we learned from this interview. I'm going to play the whole thing. It's 7 minutes. I'm going to play the whole thing because there's a lot of nuggets as far as what I've clipped from this interview. This is the meat and potatoes of the entire interview. All you're going to see is just this still shot. Don't want any copyright issues with E-Man. I don't want that smoke. So we're gonna be watching a picture, but it's actually a video, and I'll pause in the middle of it for my commentary.
We put certain pieces in place knowing that they are going to afford us opportunities down the road. We may not always know exactly how those opportunities are going to pay off, but everything we do, we're doing. And again, this is the benefit of kind of like knowing where we're going and knowing what the overarching journey looks like. There are certain times where we will plan things and we will pay them off exactly as we anticipate. There will be other times where we do something under the auspices of like where we're heading, and we're not exactly sure how we're going to pay it off, but we know like, oh, we've got a lot of really cool options for how we can do this later. And so it's always a really nice mix of, I think one of the trickiest things about doing a show like this is just being very comfortable in the discomfort of not always knowing exactly what you're going to do next, but knowing that you've laid the groundwork that you can rely on going forward. And so when we see, when we see things or we hear about things, I know Jeff doesn't really read the message boards. I try not to as well. We're both kind of looking forward, or at least I am. I'm looking forward to reading the message boards when the show is done to see like who figured out what and who got the closest and this and that. But I can say like it's really rewarding knowing that was a really big question and that we were going to have the opportunity to answer it.
And the only color I will add to that is, well, I'll say 2 things. One, to John's point about like planting things. We've talked about it. It's sort of like you leave breadcrumbs behind. It's important for us to be mindful of the breadcrumbs we've left. And we know that they're there. We're not entirely sure how they're going to pay off. But then when we find an opportunity, it's like, oh yeah, remember that thing that we did back in season 2? This is what it means. And the discomfort or the comfort in knowing that you've left these things behind. You don't know exactly how they're going to pay off. You know they're important. They're percolating in the back of your brain somewhere. That's actually a lot of the fun for us. When it comes to the message boards, it's been really fun for me. And I've sent texts to Jack and to John, look at this. After season 3, looking back and seeing that the audience, I mean, it's our fans are unbelievable. The thoroughness with which they have looked back at earlier seasons and find things that we intentionally planted. And by the way, sometimes things that we hadn't planted or intended to mean something later, but the audience is like, look, this was, of course, now those things always meant that. We'll take credit.
The whole "my blood is your blood" mother effer. and then all of a sudden Smiley is now Boyd's grandson. Like, was that intentional?
Smiley is definitely kind of Boyd's grandson at this point, and the "My blood is your blood" was very intentional for the story that we were telling at the time. And
So, okay, let me interject. So that's why I said that the whole blood thing's important, because there's a kind of like a theme throughout the entire show about blood. Not just Martin giving his blood to Boyd, Boyd giving his blood to Smiley, and Smiley kind of sprouting the cicadas from the worms. But the blood is important. I think that's how the faraway trees work. It's based off of your bloodline. Do you come from people who have been reincarnated, who are attached to Fromville, attached to the original sacrifice? If so, then the faraway trees will work for you, because I believe the faraway trees are sentient. That's why Miranda was saying the faraway trees always went to the lighthouse, because she had a vision of the tower or the lighthouse, and that's where the faraway trees took her. Whereas Dale didn't have the connection to anyone as far as being reincarnated or being a part of that bloodline. So Dale became trapped, Boyd became trapped, Martin became trapped.
I think has sort of acted as kind of like this little bit of a happy accident and a little bit of
Here's something, and if John gets mad.
So Smiley wasn't planned. Smiley being killed was not planned. They were going to kill one of the monsters. They didn't know which one. So Smiley wasn't planned. And how they were going to bring him back wasn't planned. So him coming out of Fatima's cooch was not planned. They just kind of made it up as they were going along. And I understand. I came with a theory. It was a stretch. It was a yoga stretch of how Smiley has a virus inside of him. And that's how the original townspeople, or really anybody, can be made into a monster, is by getting a virus from it. And the virus went into Boyd. Boyd passed it on to Ellis during the blood transfusion, and Ellis passed it on to Fatima during like relations. And Fatima, who was pregnant before the blood transfusion, her fetus from the Smiley virus was turned into a Smiley clone. So basically, if Smiley would have never died but got the worms, the virus still would have went into Boyd and still would have turned Fatima's fetus into a Smiley clone. And I know it's a lot, it's a stretch, it's a yoga stretch, but when listening to the creators, they don't even really have an explanation as to how. They just are like, this is the opportunity and we went with it. I kind of gave somewhat of a scientific reasoning for it, besides just hand waving magic. Like there is an explanation for it, because it is possible to clone and change the DNA of a fetus. People are doing it right now. Matter of fact, if you want to get historical, that was one of the goals of the Nationalist Socialist Party. They wanted a super race, a master race, and they were getting into cloning. They were getting into DNA tampering. They and a lot of other governments are doing that because everybody wants to make super people. They want to make people who are from the DNA of people who are rich and or famous, or have been brilliant minds, so that when someone passes away, parts of them are left behind. But that's for another video.
I mean, we can cut this out. Genuinely, if John gets annoyed, we can cut this out of the. For instance, we've known from jump that the creatures were promised eternal life. Did we know that Fatima was going to give birth to a creature before we started telling season 1? No.
Okay, right there. They just made it up. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That came up along the way. Did we know it was going to be Smiley? No, that came up along the way. But
right, they just made it up. They probably don't have an explanation, but we, the fandom, like me, I can give them a reason, give them an explanation. They can use it or don't use it. And then a lot of you all have said, it's not really possible. But if you look it up, it is possible. People are doing it right now. Like, people are doing it right now where you can determine the height, the gender, the race, ethnicity, hair color, eye color of a baby before the baby's born. You can do that stuff if you have the money. You can even clone a teddy bear that originally did not survive being born by taking the cells of the teddy bear and cloning them. People are doing that. They're cloning animals, they're cloning people, they're doing a bunch of stuff. It's just, can you afford it?
We've been looking from the beginning for how do you dramatize that the creatures have eternal life instead of just saying it out loud. And we were really mindful that that was a creative problem we were going to have to solve, and that was always in the forefront of our mind. And then you start thinking, like, what's the best thing that can happen to a character in this place? Oh, she couldn't get pregnant, and then she does. That's a gift. And then, of course, we have to sour that gift. And then you see the opportunity, like, oh, I know what she's giving birth to. This is the way that the character narrative, the emotion, the plot,
Okay, so the only issue I have with that thought process is now you have to explain why Fatima is the only one who is pregnant. Because, I mean, everyone else should be getting pregnant too. Everyone else should be having issues that they came into Fromville with and healed too. Such as, like, Boyd, his Parkinson's, it was kind of like healed with the worms, but his Parkinson's shouldn't have been an issue season 1, just by simply being in the place. So if I was in the writer's room, I would say that Fatima, using what she planted around Colony House, the Mary Jane, if you will, that is what cured her and cured a lot of people in Colony House. Since people in the town don't partake in the hedonism that Colony House partakes in, that's the reason why people in Colony House are healed for different issues they came into town with, and people in the town are not. That's the direction I would have went to kind of explain it, why Fatima's not special. This is just something that is at Colony House, and they just don't know it. And then that would be revealed by Jade and or Tabitha once their eyes are opened. So then, while Fatima is able to now medically be able to give birth, the virus that went from Smiley into Boyd and then Boyd into Ellis is now transferred into Fatima while she's pregnant with the fetus, and that virus cloned Smiley. Now you might say, well, why would that virus leave Smiley? It left Smiley because that's the exact moment he died from the worms. And we saw it on screen. So you could say the worms were killing him, and the virus that's like inside of Smiley that is kind of like its own thing, it left its host for survival. Now, it would be a stretch. It'd be a yoga stretch, but I mean, you're having a monster, a human monster, adult male, be born from a sac or an egg that came out of a woman's hoo-ha. So if we're doing the hoo-ha adult male that looks exactly like the dude that was taken out and burned, then yeah, that leap of logic would apply, because now we're doing extra stuff by having an adult monster male who looks exactly like the dude who was killed coming out of an egg that came out of a human woman's hoo-ha. And then, you might say, well, that doesn't make sense. Well, you have portals and trees, You have a town where you drive into and you drive in a straight line, you're in a circle. You have people pushed out of a lighthouse, they survive, and they wake up in Maine after being in a coma and they're able to get out of bed and walk on their own. Also, you have weather that is basically controlled by some mysterious force. They're in a place where there's no planes, no helicopters flying above, radios don't work. I mean, we're already in supernatural territory. So a grown man who's a monster being born and coming out of a sack, fully grown out of a woman's hoo-ha, is not far-fetched because of some virus that came from it. I'm just saying, it's just not far-fetched. If you're like, well, no, I draw the line at that, then you're okay with talisman stones preventing the monsters from opening doors. But you draw the line at a monster coming out of a egg sack, fully grown, and coming out of a mortal woman. So we're drawing the line there, but we're okay with everything else on the show, including having dreams of cicadas and you wake up and you're burned. So I think we passed the point of this can't be, that can't be season 1 when the grandma creature came through the window. I think we passed the point of this has got to be something in the real world at that point.
Mythology are all going to come together. And those are the kind of moments that, as John has said, as we've said, really excite us. And so, you know, there's planning and there's happy accidents that occur along the way.
Yes. Like, for example, like when we killed Smiley, we knew we were going to have to bring him back to pay off the idea of these things are granted eternal life. And then we introduced the idea of Fatima's pregnancy. And exactly as Jeff said, it's like, ooh, here's an opportunity for two things to coalesce in a way that's really, really cool.
Are there any theories that are out there that you can safely debunk?
It's not purgatory and it's not a dream.
Okay, so it can be aliens. For you all who are like aliens, I mean, they could be on an alien planet because there's no helicopters, no planes, so it could be aliens. It can also be AI. It could also be AI. It could be magic. It could be anything. It just not purgatory. They're not dead.
Okay.
Patrick Duffy is not going to come out of the shower at the end of the series finale and say, "Hey, how you doing?" For those that I just dated myself, Dallas, look it up, Patrick Duffy. But Jeff might have a longer list, but I think that not purgatory, not a dream. They're not dead.
Okay. Not purgatory, not a dream, not dead. So AI is on the table. Aliens are on the table. Magic's on the table. Pocket universe is on the table. Everything's on the table. Okay, cool.
Is Tabitha Victor's sister?
Tabitha is not Victor's sister.
Okay. I mean, if you've seen season 3, you know that Tabitha came from Miranda. Jade came from Christopher. Now, there's people out there who are like, no. Tabitha is still Eloise. Even though the creators just said that's not a thing, Tabitha is still Eloise. People are hanging, they're holding out hope for that. Good luck with that. I've even heard people say that they believe that Christopher was reincarnated into Tabitha and Miranda was reincarnated into Jade. And that's why I say that some people go full Fatima is Martin. They go full Fatima is Martin, and it's just like, hey, go touch some grass. But the creators just confirmed, and I'm going to be rocking with what they're saying. I don't think they have a reason to trick anyone. I mean, yeah, there are different shows and movies that do trick people and lie, like Marvel as far as MCU, and they do it because they have a lot of leaks. I don't see From really doing that. It's possible. I don't think it's probable. So Eloise is not Tabitha. Tabitha's not Eloise.
Do the monsters eat the organs?
Stay tuned.
So I take that as a yes.
Okay, I'll take that too.
The irony is that we humans eat organs of the of other, creatures that we kill all the time. But moving on.
Yeah, so I take what John Griffin and Jeff Pinkner said as the monsters do consume the organs, drink the blood. I mean, we did have Smiley with the blood off of his mouth, and it dripped down on the Dale. So, what are we doing? I think at this point, it's like, yeah, we don't see them do it, but there's enough that they do it.
Yeah, the monsters, because we finally saw a monster run with Smiley. Did they choose not to run, or is it the fact that they just never could? Because people were confused.
I think that answer is actually in Kenny's speech in episode 2 of season 1.
Yeah.
Where he says they know there's nowhere we can go. And so
Yeah.
they walk and they smile because they know at some point we're going to run out of places to run.
So what I take that as, when Smiley ran at Miranda, Miranda found a place to go. And I think Miranda found an exit to Fromville. That's the place to go. And here's why. So I'm going to finish off this interview. It's just maybe 30 more seconds. And I'll explain why I think not only did Miranda find a place to go, and that's why Smiley ran, but she found an exit.
Right. Okay. Is this a scar on his face for the man in yellow in the drawing? Yes or no?
I know that there are theories about that, so I'm just going to say stay tuned.
So I'm going to take that as a yes. It is a scar. Okay.
Okay. Fair enough. And last one. Is this the accurate comparison right here? Or are these different?
Same answer.
Okay. I take that as, yeah, it is. That big red thing is Smiley being reborn. You might think, well, no, that's the big evil of Fromville. I think the big evil of Fromville was painted by Miranda. It's just more of a behind the scenes picture.
Okay. That's all I needed.
Okay, so that's it. That's it for the interview. Wasn't that bad, wasn't that long. And here's what I mean by behind the scenes picture. So there are a lot of pictures that were in Henry's basement that Miranda painted, as far as in-universe, that's canon. However, we don't see all the pictures. So this is one such picture that it's behind other pictures. Tabitha only picked up so many, and the camera kind of panned over and we saw stuff, but a lot of stuff was behind other pictures and we couldn't see it. I believe this is it. You're not going to see it during the episode in season 3. You're going to see it kind of covered up behind stuff, but the people in the art department, they record and take pictures of different things that they added, but just was never really used as a part of a scene, but just background display. So these pictures to my left and right are behind me. This one is the one of the children on the merry-go-round, and this is the one of, I believe, the same children, and they're being consumed by what I think is it. So I think this is the hope energy being drained from them. Maybe it's the tongue of it. Maybe it's the hope energy. But I think these children are these former children. And so here's my theory. So these are the children that were in town. They were trafficked, and then they were given to it. These are not the original teddy bears that were sacrificed. These are others that were sacrificed. And I think that there was 2 sacrifices, at least 2. The one was in the very beginning, where the original townspeople were given everlasting life. Second sacrifice was made mid-century to create the trap. And I think the second one was made to prevent people from leaving because people had automobiles and it was easier to get away. So I think the mid-century sacrifice is what turned them into monsters. Like they sacrificed their souls and their humanity to create this trap to make it easier for them to be captured and eaten and all that. But the original townspeople were turned into monsters with the mid-century trap, and that's why they have mid-century clothes. But the original sacrifice during the colonial times, that was for everlasting life, and they were already doing satanic ritual stuff. They just were still human, so they did it methodically and not extremely like they do every night now that we see in the show. And that's how you're able to get a town built with neon lights at the diner and at the motel, and for people to actually want to come and build and live in town and all that, because the original townspeople were not monsters like they are in the show mid-century. Because there's no way you can have a diner with neon lights, or a post office, or even a motel with neon lights if you got people walking around hunting every night. So the walking around hunting every night, I think, happened mid-century after a second sacrifice where the trap was built. And they started hunting more frequently because, like the creator said, there was no place to go. So now they can hunt at will, hunt how they want, versus having to kind of pick and choose victims, pick and choose when they do it, how they do it, so that people can't run away. So I think that this is it, being fed teddy bears. And I think that there are people who are part of a cult. They come into Fromville as part of like this big worldwide cult that has been created from the original townspeople, from the Kimono Woman, and from it. And they're bringing teddy bears to be sacrificed, and they're getting wishes granted. So this is the teddy bears that are being sacrificed, and wishes are being granted after it consumes the energy from the teddy bears. And you know, these are behind the scenes pictures, because you can't see this in the original shot of Tabitha going through Henry's basement. And we see right here above the painting of the talisman stone. We see, you know, one of the two twin pictures that were made. This picture with the children on the merry-go-round. You can't really visibly see that well. A lot of stuff that is seen in a lot of content creators' videos is really behind the scenes stuff. And you can only get that from either the arts department or someone in production. So I think this is it. I think that's what that is, and not the big red thing. But, you know, we'll find out seasons 4 and season 5. Okay, so this is season 2, episode 10. This is where Victor and Tabitha are walking to the faraway tree that Victor's mom allegedly told Eloise, and Eloise told Victor always leads to the lighthouse. We know that's a lie.
Did your mother say anything else about the children? How was she going to say them?
All right, see, you see the direction that Victor and Tabitha are coming from? They're coming from the town. Well, why am I doing a T? The direction they're coming from is the town behind them.
I don't know. All she said was that they needed her. It should be right here.
So it's not right there because the forest moves, or at least the trees do. And Victor mentioned that in the beginning of season 1, where he told Ethan 4 inches, talking about the trees moving, and Victor was pace counting in order to determine that.
No. These trees were.
Hey, it was a long time ago, Victor. Maybe we took the wrong turn.
Over here.
Who put the bottles there?
I don't know.
All right, so you see the direction that Victor and Tabitha came from. That's coming from town, and Victor was able to find the faraway tree with the sound of the bottles.
This is where I found her.
Your mom?
Yeah. After everyone died, I came looking for her. Her body was. She didn't make it into the tree.
Okay, she didn't make it into the tree. So I'm going to challenge you with a question and we'll answer it later on. Was Miranda trying to go in the tree? More about that in a moment.
What do you mean into the tree?
Oh. Come. It's a.
Okay, you see the layout? So the layout is there's somewhat of a path going behind. Well, there's somewhat of a path going behind the tree, and there's a path going right here in front of the tree. So if you are hearing the bottles, you know that there's a faraway tree here. I think Miranda put these bottles up when she first arrived in the town. Victor and Aloysius weren't with her. But there is what appears to be a path going behind the tree and a path going right here, both leading away from town, and town is right here. Now we know this tree is fake because it's made by the art department, and that's why they picked this area. They probably chopped down trees in order to get a clearing, but there's 1, 2, maybe even 3. Well, I'm going to say not maybe even, but there's like really 3 paths right here that you can kind of see, and they both either take you from the direction of where they came in town or take you away. So if you hear the bottles, you know there's a faraway tree there, and you know, okay, if I'm heading towards the tree, I can just run and just dive on inside.
Far away tree.
You see how it's like you can't really miss it. It's the only tree that's large enough to basically have a whole human fit inside the hole. All the other trees in the area are thin, which normally would mean that they're young or younger. But this thick tree would mean that it's older. So you can't miss. You can't miss this.
The night the monsters got into Colony House, Julie said you both escaped by climbing into the tree.
They always take you different places, and you never know where you'll end up. But my mother said this one was special, that it would take her to the tower, to the children.
So I think what happened was, and I got a theory that the faraway trees are sentient. They can hear you, and they can sense your energy that comes from your blood. I know, it's weird. And I think the blood is really important because remember, Fatima was pregnant with Smiley and started to go to term after drinking Elgin's blood. So blood was important as far as Smiley going full term. And I think blood is like a really big thing, especially because we saw a colonist a hallucination that Jade saw, which I think was a previous version of him. We saw the colonists drinking blood. So blood is a significant thing. And I think the faraway trees are created with blood by someone being impaled to the tree, in addition to teddy bears being sacrificed, and their hope is poured into roots, and they convert the roots into symbols, and then those roots that were attached to regular trees become faraway trees. And maybe someone being impaled to the tree completes the process and puts a portal inside. So I think that Miranda always went to the lighthouse because Miranda was talking to the trees, or talking out loud, saying that she wanted to go to the tower, and the tree would take her to the tower because she is a reincarnation. I think it worked like that for her. And it works like that for anyone who is a blood relative of someone who's reincarnated, including Sarah.
And then what?
Or maybe you can just like think of what you want And maybe the faraway trees are kind of like psychic and they can read your mind. Similar to how Sarah can hear voices, the faraway trees maybe can hear your thoughts. Because Sarah went to the church where she was living, and that was safety for her. Julie went to the root cellar, and I think it's because, and this is a stretch, it's a yoga stretch. I think Julie went to the root cellar the night of the Colony House massacre because Julie wanted to go somewhere safe. And I think the faraway tree remembered who she came from and connected it to Miranda and has sensed that Miranda wanted to go to the root cellar to get Victor. But Miranda never went inside and was killed by Smiley. So Miranda reincarnated as Tabitha, and Julie came from Tabitha. So I think that the faraway tree equated, Miranda, you want to go to where it's safe, where you put your son to get him back. We've put that memory with who came from you, Julie, and so we sent Julie to the root cellar. And I know it's a stretch, it's a yoga stretch, but I think that these faraway trees, they're sentient, and because they're made from children, they think like children.
That's all I remember. Oh.
Okay, so we don't have to watch the rest of the scene, but I'm going to back it up. Okay, I'm going to leave a pause right here. Okay, so now keep in mind, we got this right here. Look at the path behind the tree, in front of the tree, and going all the way over here. Now, I'm going to keep this up here in the upper right-hand corner. Keep that in mind. So now we're going to focus on Miranda. Move this down. All right, so now I'm going to push play. No audio needed. All right, she's hugging Victor, hugging Eloise. Okay, now pay attention to how Miranda's running. I'm going to be pushing play and pushing stop so we can kind of understand what's going on. So Miranda's running, and she's running very fast. Miranda's not looking behind her, and I think that's because no one's following her. No one's chasing her. She's running, she's looking. She's running, she's looking. You see that? I think Miranda was not coming from town and going to the faraway tree. I think she was coming from the opposite direction of town, and she was running to town, and she ended up touching the faraway tree. See? If you kind of like, we can't see where the hole is. We can't see where the hole is, but I'm thinking that the faraway tree is on the right side of the screen and not the left, because she was running this way going into town. Because when pushing play, you see the faraway tree, as far as the top of the hole, it kind of comes chin level to Tabitha and even maybe chin or face level to Victor. So we would be able to see the whole of the faraway tree. Let me make it smaller because my head's in the way. All right, that makes it easier. See, we would see the whole if Miranda had came into contact with the hole, we would see it. Either we would see it in front of her, or we would see it on the side that we're on right now. But we don't see it, and I think it's because Miranda was running from this way, and she collided with the tree on this side right here. So the hole is over here. So she's running, and remember, it's dark. She doesn't have any light, but the she hears the bottles. So what I'm thinking is this: she's running. She really can't see anything because it's dark. Doesn't have any light. There's no traffic lights out there. I mean, not traffic light, but there's no street lights out there. There's no torch. There's nothing for you to see. It's pitch dark, equivalent to in the caves. Remember when Julie had to do the lighter to be able to see? It's pitch. Even though we can see Miranda, you really can't see much at night unless using the moonlight. So it's basically pitch dark out there. If you ever been in a forest at nighttime, you'll notice that if there's no like house nearby or vehicle lights or someone with a flashlight, it's hard to see. So I think that Miranda, the way she's running, she's basically running based off of hearing stuff. And you even see her putting her arm on one of the trees to kind of like guide her into the direction of going to the faraway tree that's right here. So I think that Miranda is colliding with this part right here. She can't see, but she's going boom. That's why she's hitting it like that, because she can't see. Like, and it's kind of like a movie and television thing. People who have been in movies and television will tell you, as far as production, that even though they make enough light for us to see the character, it's understood the character can't see unless the character either has some type of light source on them or with them, or there's something that you can see in the shot that's producing light. Anyway, so Miranda can't see anything, but she can hear the bottles. Now, if Miranda knows this is a faraway tree, why doesn't she just go inside? And I think it's because she was coming from this direction, going back to town. And in this theory, she's going back to town because she's going back for Victor. Let's play the rest of this. She turns around. I think she hears something, and she can see Smiley because he's really close. And like the creator said, that Kenny said, that they basically verified on the thing I just played, that the reason why the monsters don't run and they smile, they know you don't have anywhere to go. But now we got Smiley. He's running after her. Now, of course, she can see because he's really close. He's running after her because Miranda found a new place to go. And I think she found the exit. So here's what I think. And this is a stretch. It's a yoga stretch. But when Miranda left out of... Matter of fact, let me pull up the map. Okay, like I showed in the previous video, when Miranda left the root cellar after leaving Victor and Eloise down there, Miranda went to the left. And then after Eloise went right behind her, Eloise went to the right. So we don't know where Eloise went to. I'm thinking that Miranda went to the left from the root cellar. She went down into town, rallied the troops. Hey, let's go to the faraway tree. They went this way, went into the faraway tree. As far as the townspeople, they all went through the faraway tree, fell from the sky, landed in town, and the creatures got them. In this theory, it's a little bit different. I think that, and plus remember, before I finish that sentence, Miranda, before going into the township, she was having visions. This is all according to Henry. Miranda was having visions, so she had the power of Elgin, seeing stuff in Fromville in there, and Miranda was hearing voices, which is the power of Sarah. What if Miranda also could story walk? We don't know. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to focus on the two visions and voices that Henry confirms. So Miranda may have made a deal with the voices to have people go through the tree, sacrifice them so that her and her children can get out of town. I'm not saying Miranda would do that, but I mean, whether she did it or not, I think people did go through the tree. And so I think that Miranda ended up going through the tree or not through the tree, but Miranda went down here. And let me show you why. So this is the model of the township but Miranda had made a map of everything. So remember, Miranda was an artist. We saw the paintings in Henry's basement, and I believe that Victor started drawing, Eloise started drawing because Miranda was drawing. This map is Miranda's map. It seems like she went everywhere in the township and mapped the whole thing out. However, you can't really see it. People who are better than me online, they have recreated the actual map with the help of people who are in the art department, who are on production or in production and behind the scenes. So this is a grainy picture of it. You really can't see anything with this. But people have recreated the actual map. We have two versions that we're going to use. We're going to use the black and white version, and then there's the one in color. We're going to use both of them. We're going to focus on the one in color that's been made by the fans with the help of people in production that have recreated the actual map that's used on the show. All right, so normally, so what we've seen on the show so far is we've seen the road that goes through the town where this is the church, the motel sign and the pool, the barn, and then this way right here. So when people come into the township, and there's 4 different instances of coming into the township, and that is the Boyd and the Stevensons, the Matthews. Also, you have the ambulance, and yeah, so and the 4th is the bus. Okay, so the bus came in to the diner and came in the direction of passing by the barn, which is right here. So the bus is 1, the Matthews is 2, the ambulance is 3, and then the Stevens are 4. The 4 different times we've seen people go into the township, and they all come in. All 4 came in from this direction going this way in the town. If you need me to do a video playing all those different scenes, I can, but if you're just wanting to look for yourself, season 1, episode 1 is the Matthews. The bus is season 1, episode 10. The ambulance is season 3, episode 4. And the Matthews is season 1, episode 8. I can play those videos if you want me to, but I'm just going to just tell you. All right, so you go into the township this way, passing by the barn, and then you always go into this direction with making a circle. People make an immediate left, and they leave, and they end up coming right back in. So Miranda, this is Miranda's map, or a recreation of her map. Miranda has walked and made this entire map, everything. This is the lighthouse that she went to. This is the, I believe it's the car graveyard. There's actually more houses down here that we haven't seen on the show. But we have seen Boyd venture out, because besides Miranda, Boyd is the only person who's actually went into the forest and ventured out and found stuff. And he found the livestock. So when Boyd found the livestock, Father Kotry was passing by the Matthews' new home. That's the getaway sign right there. And he met Boyd. Boyd was on this road right here. Boyd was coming this way, and he gave the livestock to Father Kotry while he talked to Ellis. And that was this area right here, and that's season 1. So Miranda has made a map of the entire township, everywhere. So if this is accurate, then I'm thinking that the bottle tree that Miranda found, maybe the bottle tree, well, not found, but the faraway tree with the bottles, I think, is this one right here. I don't see any other faraway trees on this map. I mean, this could be a faraway tree back here, but I'm thinking it's right here. And Miranda had this downward arrow right here, and I think the downward arrow is that when you first go into town, you go this way, then you're going back out this way, and then while you're trying to leave, it takes you right back into town. And we've seen the Matthews go forward and do the whole loop thing, and then when the Matthews turned around and went reverse, they almost collided into Toby and Jade's vehicle because Toby and Jade had turned around and saw the tree and were coming into town while the Matthews were going in the opposite direction. The Matthews missed Toby and Jade's vehicle and went into the ditch. Toby's vehicle hit one of the trees, and that's what started the events for season 1. So it's possible that going in reverse could have taken you out of town, but I think because the Matthews saw Toby and Jade, that's not possible to simply go in reverse, turn around, and you get out of the trap. I think you're stuck in there either way. So I think what ended up happening is that Miranda found the exit on foot. And I think the way she did it in this area right here. So when she was running back from this direction. She hit the tree, and her goal was to go back in this area where the root cellar is to get Victor. So Smiley killed Miranda while Miranda was on the way to get Victor. And I think that Miranda met up with Eloise, took Eloise to like another town or the exit, and was going back to get Victor, and then got killed by Smiley. So Eloise could be at another town. She could be at the exit, and maybe she went through, or maybe Eloise is in the cave. We don't know, but I think Eloise is alive. So that's the reason why Smiley ran and attacked Miranda, because Miranda found a new place to go. And based off of this map, Miranda's map in the back of the Peach truck, she's been everywhere. So the only place that she could have gone that is different than where she's been to create this map is the exit. She went to the lighthouse, she went everywhere, and she wasn't trying to go into the faraway tree to go back to the lighthouse, because the lighthouse is not the answer, and we know that from Tabitha being pushed out of it season 2. So I think Miranda found the exit in this area, either the exit or a different town, where she met up with Eloise and took Eloise there and left Eloise there, and was going back to get Victor, collided with the faraway tree before being able to go and get Victor from the root cellar, and ended up getting killed by Smiley. So yeah, I think Miranda found the exit, confirmed by the creators, and what Kenny was saying, that the reason why the creatures or the monsters don't run is because they know there's so many places that we can go, and we're running out of spaces. Miranda found a new space. I believe it's the exit, because of how extensive she traveled the township. She found the way out, but was killed before getting there. So I think Tabitha, and remembering who she comes from, remembering Miranda and other lives, Tabitha's going to know this, but I think Tabitha's not going to recreate what Miranda did or was trying to do, because what's the point? If you leave the township, they bring you right back in, like with Tabitha. So simply finding an exit to the trap doesn't matter, because they can bring you right back into the trap. So Tabitha, Jade, and everyone else have to complete the journey, complete the story, defeat the man in the yellow suit, destroy the trap, maybe free the children from the forest. Maybe the children are tied to the forest and you got to free them somehow. I think that has to take place, and why going to the exit is not really a solution, just because, again, you could be brought back. So what do you think? What do you think? And I think the exit is somewhere in there, which is why Miranda made an arrow down here, but that is where the map stops. So we got an extensive map all around the township, but it stops here. And I know like people probably drive out of here and then they get brought back in, but I think that the reason why there's no more map down here is because this is the exit. Like, what brings you back in is an exit that can take you either back into town or an exit that can take you out of the township. It's just how, like, something that you do in order for it to not be a revolving door that can bring you back in, but a revolving door that helps you leave. Yep. So for the behind the scenes artwork, something that's interesting is this right here. There's a picture of 6 faraway trees in like a color wheel that has a different color going towards a tree. This same color wheel is at the bottom of Miranda's map. Right here. You can't really see it. You can really see it in that behind the scenes shot, but you can see it whenever Elgin is laying down in the back of the peach truck. So you see it right here, that wheel, and then you see it right here. So I'm thinking that this arrow takes you to the revolving door that brings you back into town, but then there's something else down here that you can only get to on foot that Miranda found and was like, okay, now I understand. And it could be that the voices told her she had a vision of the exit. Because again, Miranda had powers of Elgin's visions plus the voices. And she may even made a deal with the voices to be able to get out of there. You can't trust the voices, but her visions that was painting stuff seems to be pretty spot on. So at least she could use the voices. The voices would be laughing at her like, oh, you're failing. Or the voices could be saying, no, don't do that. You're going to leave us behind. And she can kind of gauge that as to, well, maybe what I'm doing is maybe I'm hot or cold as far as finding the exit. And the vision may have shown her a future or a possible future of her and her children going through this area and getting out of the township. And to me, that would be what more than likely would have happened as she got close to the exit, which I think is down here. And she had the vision of her and her children getting out of the township, going through the exit. And that's when she left Eloise there, went back to go get Victor, and then got killed by Smiley. So whether Miranda left Eloise at the exit or in one of these other houses or towns that we see on this map, because we only see the diner, the Matthew's previous home before it collapsed, the post office. During the show, we only see this stuff, this road, and then we, Colony House over here. We only really see that stuff, but we don't really see this house down here, these houses over here. We really don't get to see much anything else outside of the normal road in town, and then even Colony House up on the hill. We do kind of get to see it as a behind the scenes shot. So this is an aerial shot of the township, like season 1 or 2, because the house is still up. As far as this being the Matthews house, and it's still up. And I think they were still doing construction at this time, but there's a whole road back here. There's another shot where you can see it even better. This is a behind the scenes shot, and this is the road I'm talking about that leads to the area that's behind the main road that the main town takes place on. So you can kind of see it with this, where that's the road that I just mentioned, and then you see there's a house right there, or a building. So there's other stuff back here that hasn't been explored on the actual show, and I think Miranda explored all that and made the map. This is another behind the scenes shot where you can see them building like I forgot what they call that, a model. So they're building a model before making the actual town, and you can kind of see that there's other stuff over here. I mean, you can see the getaway sign there, and there's actually another getaway sign right there as well. Yeah, so this is the best shot I have that shows like that other road and other area over here. However, in the behind the scenes recreation of Miranda's map that's in the back of the Peach truck, we can see that there's other houses, and they may even use this season 4 or season 5 to show like a different town or a different area that Eloise may have been put at, and she just grew up there. I mean, for all we know, Eloise could have grown up near the exit, and she just stayed there because the forest moves and she was too afraid to leave because mom said, don't leave. Like, she didn't listen the first time, but maybe she's listening this time the same way Victor listened, and now he's growing up alone. I think Eloise was the same way, that maybe she's in a house right here or somewhere in the forest or maybe in there. I mean, who knows? But I think that Miranda found the exit or went to the exit, left Eloise there, went into the faraway tree, was killed by Smiley, and her goal was to go here, get Victor from the root cellar, and then recreate her steps and go that way. And I think Miranda may have been trying to do that at nighttime, just because she thought that the creatures were going to be occupied with people in town. Maybe, you know, if people are going through the faraway tree trying to get to the lighthouse and they fall from the sky and they're like laid out in town, the creatures should all be occupied, getting their nibbles on, eating organs, drinking blood and all that, which would allow Miranda to be able to sneak and verify the exit. Okay, exit's good. Go back and get her kids and then come, and then boom. And I could understand her not wanting to explore as far as finding the exit with her kids, because what if something were to happen? Now her kids' lives are taken and she didn't want that. So I could kind of see that. And as far as going at nighttime, I mean, if the monsters are occupied with people in town and people in town are occupied with the monsters, then she could kind of do this without anybody giving any resistance or pushback, because I imagine that someone like Christopher, who may have had the same mindset that Victor has of, you don't want to just rock the boat because it makes things worse here. I could see the people in town, maybe even Christopher, wanting to stop Miranda from finding the exit, because that might make things worse if she's wrong or when she's wrong, and everyone else is not trying to go through a tree or go explore the forest and do all the other stuff, kind of echoing what was going on with Boyd season 1, talking to Father Khatri about exploring the forest, and Father Khatri said, well, no one wants to explore this forest because people are afraid. You're going to be doing that on your own, which is why Boyd brought back the livestock, brought back the talisman stone. And one last thing, when the Stevens first came into town, they passed by the barn and it said, "Save me" on the front. Then when we see season 1, when the Matthews are in town, the "Save me" is not on the front of the barn. So I think that the people were waiting on a savior, and Boyd was the savior who came and saved them. So what do you think? What do you think? Do you think Miranda found an exit? Do you think Miranda was just foolish in what she did? What do you think? What do you think? And I think that now that Tabitha remembers who she comes from, maybe even has Miranda's memories, Tabitha can avoid the mistakes of her past lives, and her and Jade can have success season 4 and season 5. So if you want to support the channel, watch ads without skipping, become a channel member, become a YouTube premium member to avoid ads, and you can also support like that. You can donate through Super Thanks. Also, you can donate through Cash App, $Spade Parkland. Thumb up the video, comment in the comment section, share everywhere, including your YouTube community tab. If watching on a cell phone and your account has a hype button, click hype and hype me up. Thanks for watching. Go forth, do great things, and I'm out. Peace.